Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So today I'm going to talk to you about why you might want to learn to play the violin. But before we do that, I want to tell you about something. So I want to let you know about my online music store, which has a wide range of teaching material and courses for violin, which will allow you to be able to learn to play the violin from complete scratch all the way to an intermediate level. Or if you can already play the violin at a basic level, you can still jump into the course and it will get you to an intermediate level guaranteed. My violin course has been written so it is very easy to understand and learn, with interactive videos from me embedded within the digital course, which is like having your own kind of personal violin tutor in the room there with you. The course is priced at $59.99 US and contains everything, absolutely everything you will need to get going. All you'll need is your actual violin and bow. And the course is 100% downloadable. There is nothing physical to ship out. As soon as you pay, you can download it, and it is available to everyone, anywhere, wherever you are in the world. My course absolutely guarantees to take you from a complete beginner violinist to a very decent, accomplished intermediate player. So before you start to learn the violin, it might be a good idea to ask yourself why you want to learn it. So the violin is considered, well, in my opinion and a lot of musicians' opinions, the violin is probably considered to be the most beautiful sounding instrument out of all the instruments, arguably so. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased as well, but it's also the hardest, or arguably the hardest. I know all instruments are hard, but the piano is very difficult, and having studied piano for many years as well, I can honestly say that the violin is a lot harder than piano. Yes, in a slightly different way, but I would say the violin overall is a lot more of a harder instrument. The reason why I got into playing the violin was just because I loved the sound of it. I heard a song when I was younger and I thought, right, that's it. I want to play the violin. I thought it was the most beautiful sound that I had ever come across. And I was already learning the piano at the time. I started actually with electronic organ. Then I moved on to the piano after that. And then the violin. I didn't start all three at the same time. It was kind of staggered. But the reason why I wanted to play the violin is because I thought it was the most beautiful sounding thing I had ever heard ever. And I thought, I want to get in on that. I want to be the person that's creating that sound out of that instrument. Sign me up now. So that was the reason why I wanted to play. And to be quite frank, I didn't care what it would take. I knew it would be a lot of effort and a lot of hard work. Playing any instrument is a lot of effort and hard work. If it were that easy, we'd all be doing it. But quite honestly, I didn't care what it took. I just wanted to be that person making that beautiful sound come out of this instrument right here. And you know, I've achieved my goal for doing that, and I absolutely love doing that, and that is what inspires me all the time. Whenever I'm learning a new piece of music, I'll be honest with you, and it's challenging and I'm finding it very difficult, I always go back and I listen to the piece and I think, yes, it's going to be that, it's rubbish at the moment, you know, I'm just learning it, I'm just putting it together, but that's the end goal. So I'm constantly reminding myself of what that end goal is, and you know, how nice it sounds, and that is the reason why I wanted to play. So for me, that's the reason why I wanted to play the violin, and that never stopped me. So, you know, ask yourself why you want to play the violin. You know, have you got a good enough reason to play the violin? I feel like if you haven't, it isn't going to drive you as much. If you don't have a reason for playing the violin, it could be a reason for you quitting quite easily, because you are just not invested in it. If someone's kind of told you to do it as a bet, you know, obviously that depends, but it's just, you know, if there's nothing coming really from you, then, you know, it might be something that, you know, you're not going to kind of carry on with, because you don't have a strong enough reason to want to learn to play the violin. And I can tell you, it's a very frustrating instrument. There were lots of tears. There were lots of throwing violins across the room and throwing music across the room, and frustration and anger and all of that kind of stuff. But it all paid off in the end. So, you know, it is one of those things, but I didn't care. I wanted it. It was just par for the course, and it was something that I just went through. It was a means to an end to get to where I wanted to. The other thing that you need to consider as well is violin. Now, every teacher will tell you this. Every person on the internet that has a YouTube channel like mine will tell you this. And, we're banging on about this all the time, all of us. Get yourself a decent violin. Do not buy any hunk of crap from Amazon for $50. They're not going to be violins. They're just very, very incredibly poor pieces of wood that have been shaped like a violin, but there's nothing about the violin that has been put into it. Some of them don't even contain sound posts. The sound posts are what goes in the violin to hold up the body of the violin and resonate the sound with. So this is a very expensive antique violin that looks like a violin, and it is a violin. I could hold that up against a very cheap $50 Amazon violin, and you might be looking at that thinking, they just look exactly the same, but they're not exactly the same. The very cheap Amazon violin, for example, $50, is going to hinder your playing. Now, I know a lot of this goes down to money and finances, and yes, I absolutely appreciate that, but you would be better off borrowing a violin or renting a violin. Once you've rented a very decent violin, you will not want to go back and play the £50 Amazon violin. Those violins, they do not tune up. They do not hold their tune. You quite often have to actually sand the bridges down yourself because they don't even come ready-made in that way. So you've got to become a violin luthier as soon as you open up the box, because the bridges are more or less flat, so you can't even bow straight. You're hitting all the strings with your bow. You can't even tune the violin to start with. If you can't even do that, then you won't even get on with it. So do yourself a favour and just get yourself either a decent violin to start with, or borrow one from a friend. It only has to be for a short period of time until you kind of get into it and think to yourself, yeah, actually I really like this, I'm getting on with this, I'm going to invest a little bit of money into buying one, or rent one. You can rent one of these violins from anywhere. So get yourself a decent violin, because it absolutely will hinder you if you are playing on a cheap violin, because you'll always have intonation problems. Your fingers will hurt when you put down the bow. Your fingers will hurt when you put them on the fingerboard, and not only that, you'll be playing all the strings all at once because the bridge won't be properly curved. And then, the final reason, or the final thing to consider, is getting yourself a course or a teacher. So obviously getting yourself a teacher in person is the most ideal situation. I had an in-person teacher. You've got someone to kind of feed back on and everything, but the downside for them is that you're paying them a lot of money weekly, or maybe even bi-weekly. You're having to commit to those lessons, and it just doesn't suit everybody. Or you can get yourself a violin course like the one I mentioned at the start of this video, and you can learn everything online. I've written, obviously, a course, a 1 to 30 violin course. I'll put a link under the video to it, but that course has been written and has been designed for you guys watching this specifically on the internet. So it's ideal for someone that just wants to learn at their own pace. You don't want the hassle of having the teacher. It's a one-time payment. You buy the course for $60, $60 US, and then you just need to get yourself a violin and a bow. And that's it. You've got everything you need. All the books are downloadable the second the payment goes through, and then you can get yourself off and going. So rather than scattergunning all around the internet trying to find, first thing I need to do is how to hold the violin and the bow, and then, what do I do next? Get yourself a course. I've got one specifically designed for you guys. It will guarantee to take you from a complete beginner to a very decent, accomplished intermediate player, 100% guaranteed, as long as obviously you follow the course and practice everything that you should do. Once you've got yourself something like that, you'll know exactly where you're going, and you won't have to go around finding videos all over the place. And that's not going to be good for you, because you're going to be finding a video here, you're going to be finding a video there, you're going to be watching some of my videos, someone else's videos. The whole thing is just going to be, a complete nightmare for you. So consider why you want to be playing the violin. Make sure it's a good reason, because the violin requires a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it's very, very difficult, but the payoff is immense. Get yourself a decent violin. Trust me on that one. You're welcome. And then get yourself a teacher in person, or, if that isn't feasible for most of you guys watching this, get yourself a good online course, which I so happen to have, which I'll link in the description box underneath. So I hope this video has helped you a little bit. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.